All right, we are back, and we are going back to the phones. Good evening, Robert. Robert, thanks for waiting. You're next up.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to point out, it seems like that Coach Mason is sold on the two-quarterback system, which historically hasn't worked in college or professional. Maybe his limited time as a head coach, but I think that he needs to come out of that thinking.
Yeah, I think most people agree with you. Here's what I found so interesting the other night is after I just shook my head most of the day on Friday after being at that game and then seeing his response after the game. And then I turned on College Football Friday night. Stanford, which is where Derek Mason came from. David Shaw is the excellent head coach out there who has built quite a power with the Cardinal. His starting quarterback goes out there and goes 8 of 8 to start the game, leads them to a 10-0 lead, and the first drive of the second quarter, he puts in the backup. And it was a similar situation where they went down to the wire. Shermer actually was named the starter before Burns at Stanford was. But he basically said, I want to get the other guy some work. Now, to his credit, he did one series of it. They happened to hand it off to Christian McCaffrey, who went 50 yards for a touchdown, so I could have probably been inserted a quarterback doing that. But he went back to the other quarterback. They obviously won the game. Nobody's talking about it. But that's David Shaw, who's been the National Coach of the Year that everybody really loves and admires the way he's coached. That's who Derek Mason worked for. So I started to think, well, maybe he's seen this before, seen it work before, but it clearly hasn't worked for him here.
Yeah, well, my thoughts are, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If you're leading by 10, don't try to throw in something else in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the problem. They were up 10-0 with Shermer in the game. They took him out, and yes, he came back in, but the offense never recovered. And now we'll see if Derek Mason and the Commodores can recover. They talked about today that they've put that loss behind them, and they're moving on to Middle Tennessee. It's another opportunity to get a win against a team just down the road, an in-state rival, so to speak. They're ready for that, and they better be, because Brent Stockstill was phenomenal on Saturday night. No quarterback controversy in the borough, that is for sure. Good evening, Jackie. Jackie, thanks for holding on. We're glad to have you here on the program.
I just wanted to call and tell you about Coach Franklin. I think coaches should be judged off the field and on the field behavior. And I went to a modeling show that Coach Franklin did in the summer of 2013 at Vanderbilt, the new Vanderbilt Barnes & Noble bookstore. They have a second floor. He had the team. There was about 20 players modeling different variations of the new uniforms, home uniforms, away uniforms. And when he got them down the escalator, he showed the team, and he had them pump up their muscles and everything of different uniforms. And one of them was the quarterback, Jordan, whose older brother is a Green Bay quarterback.
Sure.
And he kept saying, oh, how sexy this is and everything. He did that to 5 players, and it was women there, all kinds of fans, and I don't think that was appropriate. And then when he left, he told the team he wasn't leaving for Penn State, and a couple of days later he said he was, and the paper said the players were disappointed in that, and even a USA Today reporter, I remember, writing that when Penn State was going through those Sandusky problems and everything, that after he, like I said, I just don't think that was a good thing, him going to Penn State after I saw him and saying how sexy that the Vandy players were in public at the Vanderbilt Barnes & Noble bookstore modeling new uniforms for the fans.
Yep. Well, we appreciate the call, Jackie. I think a big part of that is the show. And you got to understand that, especially when you're talking about a guy like James Franklin. A big reason Vanderbilt hired James Franklin is because they weren't able to fill the seats at that time. And they wanted someone who was a good football coach, but also somebody who was going to give them some of the show. And I remember sitting in press conferences a lot where he would describe a quarterback or a play or something from another team. He was describing how they play and would say, that's a sexy style of play, or we're not playing a sexy team like Alabama this week, but this is still a big game. That just became a description for him because it became a good soundbite, and that got him on the radio shows and the TV shows and got time. And you know what? He generated interest with that. Those new uniforms, those were something the players wanted. It generated excitement about Vanderbilt. To have those guys up there and have them flexing and calling them sexy, I don't know. I mean, I guess I see it, but I think to me, that's just part of the show. And these guys, they're 18 plus. They're young adults at this point. I don't think he's objectifying him. I think he's just having fun there. Now, if you want to blame him for some of the other off-the-field stuff, I can understand that. But I think that takes it a little too far. Got to give him some credit for the job he's done here. Final break. We're back after this.